The Wendigo, also Windigo, etc., comes from the oral traditions of Algonquian-speaking indigenous peoples of North America, including the Ojibwe, Cree, Innu, and related tribes. Its name, Ojibwe Wendigo, roughly means evil spirit or winter monster. Etymology traces back to Proto-Algonquian Wintekowa, owl. The Wendigo legend predates European contact and is set in the cold northern woodlands. Anthropologists note it likely arose as a cautionary tale during harsh winters, personifying starvation and warning that unchecked greed or isolation could doom the community. In Ojibwe lore, it's called a winter cannibal monster, reflecting its role as a guardian of taboos and communal survival. Traditional accounts and modern illustrations depict the Wendigo as a skeletal, human-like monster, often with deer-like horns or antlers. Ojibwe scholar Basil H. Johnston vividly described it as gaunt to the point of emaciation, with its bones pushing out over its skin, and an ash-gray, corpse-like complexion. Many legends say it stands up to 12–15 feet tall, with glowing, sometimes yellow eyes, sharp yellowed fangs and claws, and ragged or missing lips from incessant feeding. It may be hairless, or have patches of coarse hair, and is infamous for emitting a foul odor of rotting flesh. In several Algonquian variants, Ojibwe, Eastern Cree, Innu, Naskapi, etc., the Wendigo is literally a giant cannibal that grows ever larger with each person it devours. Yet it remains perpetually starved as an embodiment of gluttony. Other tribes emphasize the Wendigo as an evil spirit rather than a physical beast. For example, in Cree mythology, the Wendigo is an evil spirit that can possess a person, entering by bite or in dreams, and driving the victim to murderous cannibalism. Those believed most susceptible were the greedy, gluttonous, or severely starving. In all traditions, however, the Wendigo's traits symbolize excess and hunger. Once it has eaten even a scrap of human flesh, it is doomed to a ravenous life of perpetual craving. Wendigo lore is rich in symbolic meaning. The creature is closely tied to winter and famine. It is said to stalk in cold northern forests and can move effortlessly over ice and deep snow. As a personification of hunger and cold, the Wendigo warns that an individual who turns away from the community, for example, abandoning sharing of food, or who gives in to greed or selfishness will become monstrous. In Ojibwe tales, the Wendigo embodies gluttony and infinite desire. Even after one kill it, ate until there was nothing left, and its hunger only grew. Anthropologists note that Wendigo stories reinforce social taboos. In times of scarcity, the legend enforces the taboo against cannibalism and encourages cooperation. As Britannica explains, the Wendigo is a cautionary tale about the importance of community to guard against individual greed, selfishness, and isolation. Some tribes even held ritual dances, the Windiguka Anjimawin, during famines, wearing Wendigo masks and dancing backward, to satirically underscore how horrible cannibalism is, and to strengthen the taboo. In this way, the Wendigo story reminds people to share resources and stay united during the long, harsh winters. Algonquian oral tradition contains numerous Wendigo stories. One well-known Ojibwe tale, collected by Lottie Marsden, tells of a Wendigo that kidnaps a boy, intending to fatten him up and eat him. The boy's family discovers this, ambushes the creature in the forest, and cuts off its legs. Even as the severed creature chews on its own bone marrow, declaring the fat it once ate, the villagers finally kill it and chop it up. This was the end of this giant Wendigo. Such narratives often feature communities uniting to destroy the monster, reinforcing that only collective action can overcome the Wendigo threat. Real-life events were sometimes intertwined with the myth. The first written mention comes from a 1636 French Jesuit report. A woman warns of an Akin, an early name for a Wendigo, that had been eating members of her tribe and would devour many more if not lured away. In 1879 in Alberta, a Cree trapper named Swift Runner claimed a Wendigo spirit entered his dreams and told him to eat his family. He killed them and was later executed. Another case, 1907 Ontario, involved Ojibwe shaman Jack Fiddler, who strangled a young woman to prevent her possession by a Wendigo. These accounts show how the Wendigo legend was sometimes invoked to explain cannibalistic crimes or mental delusions, blurring folklore and reality. Anthropologists and psychologists have long studied the Wendigo legend. In early 20th century psychiatry, Wendigo psychosis was coined for an alleged culture-bound syndrome. People, often under starvation stress, obsessed with eating human flesh and terrified of becoming cannibals. Reported symptoms included anxiety, delirium, and the compulsion to commit cannibalism. Historical cases of cannibalism in Canada were retroactively labeled as Wendigo psychosis. However, the very existence of this syndrome is disputed. Many scholars today argue Wendigo psychosis was exaggerated or misdiagnosed, and they warn against pathologizing indigenous beliefs. Rather than a true psychiatric disorder, the Wendigo is often seen as a metaphor for cultural anxieties. As one review notes, the Wendigo symbolically warns about the potential loss of one's humanity in dire circumstances like starvation. It is a story about external pressures, winter, famine, colonialism, and internal vulnerability, greed, loneliness. Indigenous writers and activists have used the Wendigo as a metaphor for broader issues. For example, Ojibwe author Louise Erdrich invokes the Wendigo legend to explore justice and trauma, and Winona LaDuke coined Wendigo economics to criticize corporate overconsumption. In short, scholars treat the Wendigo as a cultural symbol, a morality tale about moderation, community, and respect for nature, rather than a literal mental illness. The Wendigo has inspired many modern horror works, often diverging from the original folklore. Algernon Blackwood's 1910 novella, The Wendigo, was among the first non-native uses of the creature, introducing it as a mysterious forest monster. Horror writers like August Derleth and Stephen King later drew on these images. King's Pet Cemetery, 1983, features a Wendigo-like entity with glowing eyes, horns, and a decaying form. These early works demonized the Wendigo, setting a template of a wicked, grinning beast. Comic books and games also reimagine the Wendigo. In Marvel's Incredible Hulk, 1973, Wendigos are created by a curse on cannibals, but look more like furry Bigfoot beasts without the classic antlers. Horror films and TV series have varied widely. Ravenous, 1999, portrays Wendigo-inspired cannibalism in the Gold Rush, while Hannibal, 2013-2015, uses Wendigo imagery symbolically. Guillermo del Toro's Antlers, 2021, shows the Wendigo as a glowing-eyed deer skull creature whose hunger grows endlessly. Video games like Until Dawn, 2015, and Fallout 76, 2018, feature multiple Wendigo monsters, often depicted as fast, invisible, or mutated humanoids. Indigenous creators offer alternate takes. Linda Hogan's novel Solar Storms, 1995, and Nathan Newden's Wrist, 2016, use Wendigo figures to critique colonial exploitation and explore spiritual themes. Cultural critics, however, caution that many popular portrayals, often by non-natives, misrepresent the Wendigo. As one scholar observes, endless horror uses have misappropriated, discarding, and demonizing the indigenous culture the myth comes from. In modern media, the Wendigo often becomes a generic monster, losing the original lessons about greed, hunger, and community. Mythology in many cultures features creatures that parallel the Wendigo's hunger or transformation themes. The table below compares the Wendigo to analogous beings like werewolves, ghouls, and rakshasas. Similarity to Wendigo: Algonquian winter spirit monster, gaunt humanoid or giant, often with antlers and gray ashen skin, perpetually starving cannibal, grows with each victim, never full, embodies cold, hunger, and greed. Werewolf, European, human cursed to become a wolf, lycanthrope, often depicted as a wolf or half-human wolf form, furred and fanged, transforms, often under a full moon, and attacks prey, animals or people. Violent and animalistic, but not inherently cannibalistic. Both are human-shaped creatures driven to kill. Feature transformation: Wendigo via curse of hunger, werewolf via curse. Both convey loss of humanity, though werewolves aren't tied to winter or cannibalism. Ghoul, Middle Eastern graveyard demon, monstrous humanoid in lore, sometimes shape-shifting, sometimes corpse-like, feeds on dead, and sometimes living, human flesh. Associated with graveyards and night, like the Wendigo, A ghoul consumes human flesh and is shunned by normal society. Ghouls are undead demon entities rather than spirits of greed, but both evoke horror of cannibalism. Rakshasa, Indian demonic being, often giant humanoid with fangs and claws, can shapeshift into animals or beautiful women, terrifies humans, often hunters or warriors, described as insatiable man-eaters that can smell human flesh, magical illusions and flight. Similar in being a fierce cannibalistic monster, Rakshasas and Wendigos are both malevolent predators of humans. However, Rakshasas are general-purpose demons of chaos in Hindu myth, not specifically tied to winter or starvation. Each of these creatures shares with the Wendigo a human-eating aspect or transformation, but the Wendigo's unique attributes are its connection to cold northern winters, its never-ending hunger as a caution against greed, and its origin in Algonquian cultural taboos. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.